Let me put this into the context of this week. It is a big news story that the Supreme Court would give Doge access to Social Security data because Elon Musk and the people that he assembled from his sort of long-standing orbit to participate in the Doge exercise leaned heavily on the idea that they were technology industry people. They were good with data, and they could use data to find savings in a way that, with respect, just sort of like the legacy apparatus of federal government just couldn't do. So that's why the recent reporting, not just on Elon Musk's deteriorating relationship with the president, but also some of those people's departure from Doge. So Steve Davis, for example, has worked for Elon across all of his companies. And I learned from sources he'd left. You have people there like Joe Gebbia, right, who's a Tesla board member, Airbnb founder, and they've just been zeroed in on this idea that they can do a much better job if they have access to all of the data. And when I say job, I mean like use tech, use AI, use software to make, you know, better decisions in areas they can target savings. That's the story.
I want to remind everybody, it includes social security numbers, addresses, birth and marriage certificates, tax and earnings records, employment history, and bank and credit card information. What can you do with this information to make it more efficient? I mean, that's this is just...
Let's remind everybody, all of us who have visited the White House, you and me included, you give them your social security number, and within a few minutes or like in a short period of time, they know whether or not you can come in, right? If there's any issues. I'm just saying it's so much information.
I was not denied access. Were you denied access?
I was not denied access.
Just sure. Okay, go ahead, Ed.
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, so the counter argument to the argument I just outlined was that of the Doge participants, not my own, as you know, and you know that. But the counter argument and the sort of at the root of the litigation is that you don't want people having your own broad, full spectrum of personal data. And what I want to be honest about, I don't know about what the sort of conditions the court might put in place on the safety of the warehousing of that data, right? Like, you know, it might be usable, but I'm sure that there would be some sort of discussion around, well, can a Doge personnel sort of log in and look at random people's data? I'm sure that's not how it works. The value is in aggregate as they make decisions. And I think that's about like personnel and scale and, but we just don't know. You know, it's somewhat speculative.
All right. One last question before we move on to some other stuff. So Elon doesn't get this data, or we don't know? It's just real, or is it just for Doge?
Elon's not part of Doge anymore, is he? So
I know.
Not right now, not currently. He did say, this is the past couple of days notwithstanding, he did say that he would continue to help out with government work a couple days a week, like a month ago, Ed, right?
Yeah, and you know, like, obviously we do not know where things stand between Elon Musk and the president beyond the posts from Musk in particular softening in tone and sort of walking back and there being a bit of a detente. So there's an update on the story. I'm just going to read it to you guys because it kind of answers the question, and it's from the court's ruling. Under the present circumstances, SSA may proceed to afford members of the Doge team access to agency records in question in order for those members to do their work. That doesn't hugely answer why they should have access or how they use the data, but I think that the court's reached a decision here where basically, despite the very real concern of grave privacy risks, right, that whatever Doge has proposed in the use of the data, the court has sided with them that it is useful in the work that they're trying to carry out.
All right, one last question. I promise you that's this. But Doge people are Elon people, correct?
Yes, not universally. There are some interesting lawyers and former private and public attorneys, for example, that are on the team. There are very talented engineers that are not Elon people per se. They may be alumni of Tesla or XAI or SpaceX, but that goes back to the original point of the first question, which was like, why do they want the data? They're technology people. You know, data is the underpinning of software. And their argument is that they have the skills, the particular set of skills that can make this government more efficient.
All right, we're sticking with Elon. I want to talk a little bit about Tesla and your scoop. Ed, Tesla had its worst week, down 14.7%, worst week going back to October of 2023. We've talked a lot about why Tesla shares fell, but you, after the market closed, had a scoop The leader of Tesla's Optimus program is leaving the company. You cited a person familiar with the matter. What are the implications of this?
Yeah, so Milan Kovac is the head of the Optimus, or as of today, not the head of the Optimus program. Milan Kovac was running the Optimus team, and he informed colleagues today would be his last day, and that his responsibilities for Optimus would be passed over to somebody called Ashok Ellaswamy. Ashok Ellaswamy is responsible for the autopilot team. That's the team at Tesla responsible for all of the software development for both full self-driving, the consumer tool and software platform in consumer cars, but also robotaxi. And clearly this is an important story because Milan Kovac didn't say in this memo why he was leaving Tesla, simply that it was a hard decision, but today would be his last day. But as you know, and we can get into it, Elon Musk has put both Optimus as sort of going to be the most important Tesla product ever, and robotaxi as the two sort of core pillars of Tesla's future business model.
So does this mean Elon's back at work? He's had a busy 24 hours, but is that what that means potentially, or something else?
We just don't know, and my reporting doesn't sort of confirm any rationale on the timing of Milan Kovac's decision. Let's be honest, it's curious timing, isn't it? It was just this past week, and I'm frantically scrolling through my timeline, but Elon tweeted just this week, here, I've got it. This tweet 9 years ago was how I started the autopilot, now AI team at Tesla. Ashok, who now leads the team, was the first person I interviewed. Milan, who leads Optimus, also joined very early. Many of the key people in Tesla AI have been there from the beginning. That was a post Musk made on X this week. That would imply, would it not, that Milan Kovac's departure this Friday afternoon was a surprise. And I can tell you, because my phone was ringing off the hook straight away after publishing the story, not just a surprise to those internally at Tesla on the autopilot AI Optimus teams, they were surprised, but some of Tesla's biggest investors as well, because the institutional investors who are deeply researched, a lot of them do believe in that Optimus thesis, and they know that Milan was a core part of the work that was happening.